this is not about cutting ribbons. It's about getting the job done. And I think Harry Truman said it best. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. She wants the headline and not doing the job.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42.
Just as Jim Meffert represents the future of the 3rd Congressional District, State Senator Tarryl Clark represents the future of the 6th Congressional District. It's a distinct pleasure to welcome Tarryl Clark to Democratic Visions.
Oh, it's good to be here, Tim.
So you are embroiled in a very hard and hard-fought campaign up in the 6th District. Now you're challenging a 2-term incumbent, Michell Bachmann, who is known for her inflammatory and some might say irrational rhetoric. Do you find that a daunting task?
What's daunting is thinking about our families and our communities that are struggling. We have the highest foreclosure rate in the state, some of the highest unemployment rates, and instead of doing a dang thing that's going to help families stay in their houses, help families have jobs, help businesses expand, Congresswoman Bachmann is flying around the country saying outrageous things that
I won't ask you to
that
repeat.
Really are about headlines.
I won't ask you to repeat those, but I mean, talking about the Obama-mandated British Petroleum Fund as extortion, talking about tyranny imposed by Democrats, suggesting that Obama may have un-American views, and suggesting further that the media investigate members of Congress to decide whether they are pro or anti-America. And I don't want to dwell on this unduly, but it just seems to me that she's attempting to drag political discourse into the gutter. How does somebody who's built a reputation as somebody in the trenches who gets things done, how do you counter that?
We'll use the
Tarryl?
BP example. The worst environmental disaster, clearly BP's fault. And right from the get-go, she's out there standing up and trying to protect BP instead of the taxpayers. I want to go to Washington to stand up for the taxpayers. And what we're finding as voters are realizing that Michelle is standing up for the big interests, whether it's Wall Street, whether it's insurance companies or BP, the more they're getting to know me and the fact I'll be standing up for them, the closer this race is going to get, and it's already within striking distance. So for me, it's important that we're standing up and telling the truth. And if she wants to be out fighting for special interests, that's fine, but that's not what the job is. It's really about fighting for the people of the district.
But you're going to need more than Democrats up there. How are you going to appeal to the moderate Republicans and to the independents who make up a wide voting bloc up in that area?
It's going to be the same way we won our special election and I won my re-election. As we went door to door, neighbor to neighbor, reaching out to businesses as well as to labor, reaching out to seniors and veterans, to students, and we won. And it's going to be the same way with this election. And the issues in the 6th District really are about our families and our communities. Can people afford to retire? Can they afford to send their kids to college? Will they be able to get from point A to B without a lot of congestion? Can they afford their health care? They're really not partisan issues. Some, including Congresswoman Bachmann, have made them polarized and politicized, but they shouldn't be. And my track record in the state Senate and certainly in St. Cloud is working with anybody and purposely reaching out to those who are very conservative to try to create better solutions.
Well, does Michelle address any issues that are important to the people up in the St. Cloud and 6th Congressional District area?
Well, as best I can tell, the closest she gets to addressing anything is saying no, and no is not an answer. But that doesn't create a job, that doesn't put food on a table for somebody who's out of work. And so that's really the biggest contrast between us. While she's off pursuing her own agenda and standing up for the special interests, I want to continue to stand up and fight for the people of our district.
Let's talk about transportation. What's Michelle's record been relative to transportation issues that would serve the 6th Congressional District?
Well, again, this is a place where she has said no to pretty much every single issue. We have some of the highest congestion rates, certainly safety rates. I worked closely with our chamber to make sure that we passed a good transportation bill that got enacted into law. And a couple examples that'll show the contrast again is, after the I-35W bridge collapsed, it was found out that our bridge, the bridge that goes through the center of our community, the Highway 23 bridge.
Is that DeSoto Bridge?
DeSoto, now Granite City Crossing,
Okay.
had 6 bent gusset plates. None of us in Minnesota knew what gusset plates were before, but it had to be closed. And when it had to be closed, federal dollars should have paid for that. But she wouldn't lift a finger. So myself and my colleagues had to do the work instead, working with local folks. We used state dollars, just state dollars, no federal dollars whatsoever. But that didn't stop her from showing up when the bridge was open and running to the front of the line to get her picture taken. Same with North Star Corridor. Transit and transportation is critically important to this district. She has fought against that every step of the way.
Fought against it?
Fought against it. And I've worked hard with a lot of coalition partners to get it as far as Big Lake. But we don't do things halfway in Minnesota. That train needs to get all the way to St. Cloud. But that didn't stop her from showing up to Big Lake and
cut the ribbon,
to
right?
cut the ribbon. So this is not about cutting ribbons. It's about getting the job done. And I think Harry Truman said it best. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. She wants the headline and not doing the job.
Well, what do the people in the district tell you when you go out there door to door and ask them about what bothers them and how they view their present leadership in Congress?
Well, they're very frustrated to have someone in Congress who is turning their backs on them. Just in the last week, she has voted against extended unemployment twice. And these are hardworking folks who cannot find a job. They want to be working, but this is a lifeline until they can get there. So that's what I'm hearing from people.
Well, does Michelle, as a matter of practice, sort of toe the party line? And if it's a Republican position, does she espouse that position, or does she ever work across the aisle?
I have not seen any evidence of that. In general, it's either been more of a party lines or going even further. She has certainly been part of the hard right in terms of the way she is approaching things. She has talked about weaning Americans off of Social Security and Medicare. I'm in my late 40s. People in their 30s, 40s, 50s have put in decades of their money into Social Security and Medicare. That's our money. It should be there. Instead, she's talking about weaning us off. And that's, again, the kinds of things that she is doing.
Well, I know that you're presently Assistant Senate Majority Leader in the state legislature. In your workings in the legislature, do you attempt to work with both Republicans and Democrats?
Oh, absolutely. It's I grew up in a moderate Republican family, and I've always tried to espouse some of the values of both parties. And I learned a long time ago when I was advocating for families and kids and seniors and veterans at the Capitol that legislation is much better if you're working with people who have differing views. So an example would be, I've been working on trying to protect seniors from unscrupulous lenders on reverse mortgages. I've worked with some of the most conservative members of the Senate on this, and it's been stronger language and we have a stronger law because of it. But that's the way I approach all legislation.
And I don't want to unduly dwell on this, but it seems like a politician like Michell Bachmann, who stands on the far right and then slings as much mud as she can, would just as a matter of course not be able to work constructively with Democrats in Congress. And I'm assuming that that's probably what the record shows, isn't it?
Yes, well, she's actually admitted to the St. Cloud Times that she has not passed a single substantive piece of legislation to help the people of the district. And I think that her priorities are elsewhere. And she's entitled to her own priorities, but that's not what the job is. The job is about standing up and bringing people together to get things done. And that's what I want to go to Washington to do. I want to fight for our families, fight for our communities, not for the special interests.
I got a pretty good feeling that you're going to be successful in that. Thanks for dropping by, Tarryl.
Oh, it's great to be here, Tim.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42.